everybody. Welcome back to ChristiChristie. Thank you guys for your support. Today we're going to talk about something very serious and near and dear to us because we've both experienced some of these things. But we're going to talk about the 5 ways to recognize that you may be depressed and you may need to reach out and ask for help. And whether it be a friend, a pastor, a counselor, just connect to your circle of trust and your support system. One of the ways that affected me personally was isolation. When I went through my infertility issues, I isolated myself. I kind of cut myself off from the world, and it was easy because my husband and I lived in Georgia at the time, so we were 10 hours away from family and 6 hours away from friends. So it was easy to cut myself off. It was easy to not connect with anybody, and I didn't really have any friends in Georgia other than a few coworkers, but I didn't talk to them outside of work. So I kind of fell into this rut of just being alone and being not really content with being alone, but just accepting it and wallowing it and letting the thoughts kind of take over me throughout the day. And it wasn't fun. Sometimes I went days without even speaking, especially if my husband was not in town. Then I can go the whole weekend and not utter one word out loud and just be in my head for the whole 72 hours. And it's not a good thing to do. It's not good to isolate yourself. It's not good to put yourself in this bubble and disconnect from the world when you're going through something difficult, because that's the time that you need people and you need love and you need connection.
Yes, and I can definitely relate to that because particularly after the second loss, I literally went to once I got out of the hospital, went home, turned on Netflix, found whatever on Netflix, and just sat on the couch and watched for hours.
Kind of checked out.
Yes, and there, if somebody didn't come to me, then I didn't talk to them. People calling, people trying to reach out, text, whatever, and I wasn't responding. So it's just like, if you weren't in my face, if you weren't physically there, then I wasn't talking to you. And so, basically the only people I spoke to were, of course, my husband. Christy came down to visit me. It was just like, hey, I just gotta come see you, whatever, and see how you're doing. And my mom, of course, she came down to help us out a little bit after I got out of the hospital. And so, those were the only people that I really, talked to. But for the most part, it was just me isolating myself. But even more so than the isolation, I found myself sleeping a lot. Just not wanting to get out of bed and just, going to bed early and then staying in late, and even sometimes, even if I wasn't sleeping, just laying there in the bed and just not getting up. And so that's another sign to look for, if you're any sort of extreme, like you're sleeping too much or you're not sleeping at all, and that's not your norm, then that may be another sign that you're falling into some sort of depression and that you need to reach out to somebody.
And I know for me that's a tricky one because I love sleep. So you have to just pay attention to when, like she said, when you're doing it in excess, because sleeping in on a Saturday, because you work every day, that's one thing. But when every chance you get, you want to lay up in the bed unless you really have to get up and do something, that might be a little excessive. When your sleep turns into the isolation, when you're just putting yourself in this bubble in your bed and never wanting to move, that's when there's a concern. So definitely keep in mind, if you love sleep like me, there's a line there. So just pay attention to the line on what is excessive and what is normal for you. And another thing that I've experienced that you may not even notice is a sign of depression is restlessness. Consuming yourself with busy work, trying to do every and anything to kind of fill in the time, fill in the gap, and you think it's taking your mind off of things, but it really isn't. Sometimes it's just you burying it in the back of your mind. Or like me, in my restlessness, I clean. I like to clean, and it helps me process things, and it helps me, sometimes it doesn't help me, actually. It's to my detriment, because like Christy would text me and say, what are you doing today? Cleaning? What else is dirty in your house, Christy, that you need to clean?
If y'all know her house, it stays spotless. So it's like,
and that was, so for me, that was kind of a sign that I probably needed to get out, and I probably needed to connect with friends or connect with someone and process what I was going through, but I didn't think about it at the time. So hindsight being 2020, I know now, and the more you know, the more you grow. So if you are making yourself busy with little things and tasks and stuff, be mindful of that.
Yeah, definitely. That was something that my husband also did. He just would find random stuff to do, and it was just like, you know, what exactly are you accomplishing? And so that was one of the ways that I knew that he was grieving, but it was also a little excessive. So, you know, just really be mindful of that, if it's you or your loved one. Another one that I found myself, I had extreme emotions, just unprovoked. Like sometimes I would just break down and cry and just continue to cry uncontrollably. And that was one of the main things that I knew that I needed help, that I needed to seek counseling. And, you know, this is something I mentioned in a prior video as well. Like, that was something that I absolutely knew, just when I could not control the crying and I just could not stop, and it just seemed like it just continued on and on, that I was just like, okay, I need to deal with this. And so, you know, some people have extreme emotions where they get angry, where they, you know, just any sort of extremes that you may have where it's completely unprovoked. That is a sign that you really, really need to look out for and possibly seek, you know, some sort of help. Look into your support group.
Definitely. I would say that was my husband, that he did the extreme emotion thing, jumping from one thing to the other. And, you know, when he would get really upset, he would just like kind of blow up, not at me, don't play that. But you know, I would hear him in his man cave just kind of yell out, and I'm like, are you okay? And he'll be like, yeah, I'm fine. Then I'm like, well, what happened? You know? But that was his way of kind of, I guess, getting out all of that bottled up anger and frustration that he was going through. And eating was his too. He eats his emotions as well. But so for me, I would say I was more snippy at my husband. So it was, and sometimes unprovoked. He could open his mouth to breathe, and I was just like, oh. Like, I was just, you know, annoyed. And it was nothing he did. It was not his fault. It's just what I was going through. And I just didn't equate, I am behaving this way because I am depressed and I need to seek counseling and I need to seek help for this. I just looked at it as he was just being annoying because he was existing in my presence. And because he was there, like I said, isolation. So I live with my husband, so I can't isolate myself from him. So it was more, although sometimes I did, like he would be upstairs and I kind of would go downstairs, or if he came downstairs, I would go upstairs, and I never knew that was me, like isolating myself and putting myself in a bubble. And he would always think that he was doing something wrong, and I'm like, no, you didn't do anything wrong. And it was just like, it was kind of like I just, you know, it was like in the back of my mind, like I didn't know I was doing what I was doing, you know. And so yeah, now that I know, like I owe him an apology. But yeah, so if you are experiencing anything like that, like just know that this could be a sign that you need to ask for help and you need to reach out to someone. All problems can't be handled alone. Sometimes we need a brother, sometimes we need a sister to kind of help guide us through whatever we may be going through.
Yes. And then last but definitely not least is a diminished zeal for life. Like if it seems like your passions, your ambitions, like none of that matters anymore, then more than likely you are facing some sort of depression and falling into some sort of depression. That was, you know, definitely with me, because with the sleeping, not getting out of bed, I wasn't doing anything else. So, you know, the things that I was passionate about, the things that I would do previously, I wasn't doing. You know, would go to work, do some work, you know, fortunately because I worked for myself, I had more flexibility, but just beyond that, just not doing anything else and not caring. Yeah,
that was the same with me. I know, like for me, I had a boss, so I could not show up to work or perform, but I definitely didn't want to be there. I definitely during my lunch breaks, I went to my car and just kind of sat there. And I know that at home, I wasn't as motivated to really do much. I didn't want to cook. I didn't want to be. And and it's not like I didn't have dreams and aspirations and everything, but I just wasn't motivated to do anything because things weren't working out the way that I hoped. You know, I was dealing with this infertility, and we know we wanted a child, and we just couldn't get ourselves out of the rut. And eventually we broke out of it, though, and we, you know, my husband and I went on vacation together. We wanted to enjoy each other and enjoy life, and, you know, basically see life from more than just this aspect of it that wasn't working out in our favor. And hopefully that's something you can do as well. Try to see past your current circumstance and this current thing that isn't happening for you, whether it's child loss, whether it's infertility, and embrace all the other parts of your life where, you know, you are thriving and you can thrive.
Yes, and so, you know, just be mindful of those things. If you do need to seek help, don't be afraid to do it. Don't be embarrassed to do it or ashamed or anything like that. Just go and seek the help that you need, and like Christi said, live your life. Enjoy, you know, the other aspects of your life that, you know, you really thrive, and just allow yourself to break free.
Break free and live and maintain your light and do what you need to do so that you are okay.
Yes.
That is most important. So I hope that this video inspires someone, and I hope that you get the help that you need if you have determined that any of these things apply to you. Truly evaluate yourself and see if there's anything in you that needs to reach out to someone, and do it.
Yes.
We love you guys. Thank you for watching.